Hey friends, I'm so excited to share with you a conversation with a good friend now, Dr. Edie, who's actually a medical doctor that now practices holistic medicine, holistic healthcare. She has an incredible story. Dr. Edie, thank you so much for joining me.
I'm so happy to be here, Dr. Pete. I forgot to tell you that the time that we met a few months ago, several people I posted about you on my social media, and several people in my world already know and love you. So it's a small world.
Well, I'm very, very honored. Honestly, being in healthcare is one of the greatest privileges, even with everything I do around the world. People say, well, Dr. Pete, when are you just going to do that? And I just love what I get to do on a regular basis, empowering people to truly get healthy and giving them hope where in other situations, they just don't have any hope anymore when it comes to healthcare. So, Dr. Edie, tell me about your story. Like, you're a medical doctor, but it's
Yep.
kind of an incredible journey that you've taken.
Yeah, it's crazy when I think about it. I trained in traditional medicine and became an MD, went into family medicine. Even back then, I didn't know anything about natural or holistic health, but even back then, I was always very geared toward
Mm.
preventive health. I loved helping people make lifestyle change. I loved helping people stop smoking and take better care of themselves and eat better and lose weight. And that was always my bent. I always, even before I knew about holistic health, I always was like, man, I wonder if there are any of these prescriptions that we can taper down or
Yeah.
stop. So I kind of always had a heart for that. But I think it's very difficult when you're trained the way I was. I'm so jealous of all of my chiropractic friends and the holistic training that you get. But the way that I was trained was very much towards sick care.
Yeah.
And in my training, I think I got one afternoon of nutrition in
Mm.
medical school. And it was mostly learning about pharmaceutical drugs. And I didn't even realize how much, um, for lack of a better word, I'd really been brainwashed by the system until my own health crashed.
Yeah.
This was about let's see, 2030. So this was about 11 years ago. And I had a health crash. And it's crazy because I went to see, one of my partners, a
Mhm.
person in traditional medicine. And when he kind of told me, gave me a long list of diagnosis and a pile of things, my first thought is, there's no way I'm going to do this. Like, I've been
Yeah.
taking care of people who take all these meds and they don't feel better. They're not healthy. It's like managing something without getting to the root of it. And I just wanted to find a better way. And it was such a revelation to me that, oh my gosh, I don't think I believe in this model
Yeah.
anymore. And I am so grateful for my medical training. And when we need it, when we need emergency care or whatever, I'm so thankful that it's
Mm.
easy to get. And we live in a place where people are so gifted at their skills. But I do think what I realized then is that so much of what ails us, so much of what's wrong with us can't be fixed by that system. And we have to take agency for ourselves. So my journey to healing, really all of those things,
Yeah.
took a while because I didn't have a model for it. And I'm so grateful that I humbled myself enough to go exploring other places and sort of find better ways to take care of myself and to take agency for my own healthcare. And I really do think that one of the worst things we've done to people is we have taught them that their health lies in someone else. Like,
Yeah.
someone else can give you a pill or do something to you that, is going to give you true health. And I just knew in my heart that wasn't true. And it's been a beautiful kind of long journey of just figuring out how to do that, how to build true health and wellness, and why it's so important. I don't remember who said this, but I remember hearing this, and maybe you said this, I can't remember, but if you don't have your health, that's all you worry about.
Yeah.
If you have your health, you have the leisure of worrying about other things, of figuring out, how can I serve the people in my life? How can I use my
Yeah.
gifts? But if you don't have your health, then
Yeah.
what you're worried about is your health. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until mine was basically gone. And I realized that I had done it to myself.
Mm.
that it was a lifestyle issue for most of the things that were ailing me. And over the last 10 years, it has been a beautiful journey of finding true health, of building resilience. I love how you talk so much about resilience, but yeah, I'm so very grateful for that
Yeah.
journey.
I think that's for all of us, though. No matter what profession that we're in, there's grace for the humble. When we humble ourselves, he offers us grace. And for me in my journey as well, I didn't know anything about health. I had one of the largest chiropractic clinics in the world, but really was clueless when it came to what true health was. But I think
Yeah.
it's when we come to that kind of that crisis situation, we found it with my wife. And it's like, okay, now what do we do? And you really, if you humble yourself, God's so gracious to begin to lead us. And he says he leads us in paths of righteous for his name's sake, beside still waters where there's rest. And there's a freedom and there's a liberty when we just kind of just say, okay, Lord, grant us wisdom, the wisdom to rightly apply the knowledge that's out there. And I know we went on a journey that's been transformative for our families, being proactive when it comes to our health. And I know coming from a medical side as well, have so many medical doctors that come into my office and they bring their families in. They've seen behind the scenes. They've seen the pandemics. They've gone through those things. They realize, hey, there has to be another way. And it's just so
Yeah.
refreshing when you can go into an office, no matter what type of professional it is, and know that you have an advocate that's going to fight for you and be there with you to walk with you every step of the way. And I know that's how you are. That's how we desire to be. So, Dr. Edie, what are some of the things that you could tell the person watching that if I want to get on the road to health, if I want to get moved in the right direction, just simply start here?
Yeah. What I do mostly now, I do some online health coaching, but what I do mostly now, honestly, is life coaching people and teaching them about mental and emotional resilience. And what I've learned, and it's why I love your work so much, what I've learned is that you can have a perfect diet, you can do the perfect amount of weight training, you can do all the things great. And if you're constantly living
Yeah.
in emotional turbulence and you're not willing to build resilience in your life in a mental and emotional way, it won't matter. And what I have struggled with, because I came from a background where I had some childhood trauma that I really had never worked through. So my first pillar of health that I learned to build was, okay, I can carry this story around with me and it makes me depressed and sad and I'm constantly going into fight or flight, or I can open myself up to what has happened to me. I can see God's grace there. I can see all of the benefits that he's given me and given me the life that I've had. I can see it all as a gift and go, okay, now what? Now, what am I able to do with my life? And for me, that was the first pillar. It was just dealing with the emotional
Yeah.
hurt of my past and the emotional trauma and learning how to build mental and emotional resilience so that I had the energy. What I find for most people is our energy is getting sucked out because we're living in this sort of chronic,
Yeah.
stressed out state, and we don't have the energy in our lives for what really matters. And as I dealt with those issues first, I started to really wake up to my life and my health started improving in
Yeah.
really dramatic ways. And I didn't realize that sort of mind body connection was so powerful.
It is perspective. I think if we lose perspective on anything, we're just not going to fulfill the call of God for our life. When it comes to true health, when it comes to resilience, it's all about our body's ability to adapt to life, but more importantly, recover. As long as we're able to adapt to the demands and stressors that we face and recover from it, our body stays resilient. And it does that neurologically, chemically, and emotionally. And that's one of the things I talked about. If we're going to get on the road to health, it's all about resilience. And there's a roadmap to get there. Number one, let's restore homeostasis. Let's lay a foundation so the body has grace, so we have grace for the journey. How do we restore homeostasis? Neurologically, we do it through movement. Now, chiropractically wise, we do that specifically through spinal mobility, restoring mechanoreceptors to the brain so the body can come and get back to homeostasis and rest. Chemically, my favorite's adaptogenic herbs. I've been putting my patients on adaptogens for years and years and years. Adaptogens act like a thermostat in the body to help restore homeostasis chemically. It directly affects the chemical stress pathway called the HPA axis. And the HPA axis is what creates the stress hormone cortisol. Psychology today
Yes.
says cortisol is public enemy number one. Person want to
Yep.
get fat, old, tired, and sick. Well, let cortisol go crazy. Well, adaptogens are the only thing proven to directly affect that chemical stress pathway to restore it to homeostasis. And adaptogens are unique. They're a thermostat. They bring you up to homeostasis or they bring you down. And thirdly, the emotional stress pathway, we restore it back to homeostasis through hope, seeing my life and my future in a positive light, seeing God in my future. The Bible says
Yep.
hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a desire fulfills a tree of life. And if we can tweak our perspective, I love what you said. If we're not careful, we allow the circumstances of our life to be our story. But
Yep.
through God, he gave us the privilege to allow his life to be our story in what he went through on our behalf, proving that our life matters and is significant to him when he went to a cross and died in our place. And if we can begin to see and twist that perspective, now every day I get to wake up and go, wow, Lord, I'm a child of God. I get to go enjoy this day, knowing that my life is of great worth and value, maybe not in the eyes of others, but for surely in the eyes of you. So keeping perspective, laying a perfect foundation for health and healing. As we kind of progress from this perspective,
Yeah.
emotional well-being, what are some of the other things that we can tell those watching when it comes to truly just transforming their health?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that's been super transformational for me has been movement. So I love what you said about restoring through movement. I think keeping ourselves physically strong, so weight training. One of the things that I love to do is just the meditative aspects of walking a lot. So
Mm.
I would say walking and weight training have been huge for me. And I think about it in such a functional way. You know, we just had our first grandbabies in the lab. We had just had a new one and have so he's our second. And, you know, I'm 54 years old. I want to be on the floor with those babies, turning them upside down, having dance parties. And I know that in order to do that, I have to keep myself strong
Yeah.
and I have to, you know, do the things that I need to do to be able to function in a way that I want to function. I want to go play football with my 11-year-old. And so those things really motivate me to stay as fit and as strong as I can so that I can really do to me what really matters. So that has been really huge for me. Of course, nutrition, you know, nutrition is important. I'm not, you know, I've gone through listen, when I was practicing medicine, I did every diet so that I could like help my patients so that I
Yeah.
knew what they were talking about. And back when I was practicing, it was like Body for Life and, you know, the Atkins diet. And so I did all of those. And what I've learned over the years is that every body is different. I don't think
Yeah.
people need to all eat the same way. I did keto, you know, keto for a long time too. I've tried everything. What I've come to is just for me is to eat food that God made closest to the form that he made it in.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you have to read the label for too long, it's probably not what you should be eating
Yeah.
because apples don't come with labels and pastured beef doesn't come with labels. So I'm not crazy about it. I don't have crazy, you know, rules around food, but I do try to eat food that he made
Yeah.
and knowing that the food that he made, as close as we can get it to how he would have made it, is really nourishing to us. So nutrient dense food. That's been really important to me. I love fermented foods. So, you know, I
Mm.
just try to eat a good wide variety, the fermented foods for the gut health. So that's been, you know, a huge part of my journey. But to be honest, the whole chronic stress cycle that I lived in for so
Yeah.
long, even when I was doing those things, if I let that stress cycle get out of hand and I wasn't really in tune with shifting my story, shifting the narrative, shifting the perspective, getting back, like you say, to homeostasis, then those things aren't as powerful. So
Yeah.
those are some of the things that have been really important in my own journey.
I think that's one of the things I find with these patients that come from around the world who have the clean diets, who exercise all the time and have cancer for the second time at 30. Yet we all know those individuals that just seem to do whatever they want. They don't
Yep.
eat organic, they eat garbage, they never work out, and I think they're going to live forever. And really,
Yep.
the secret sauce, so to speak, is a body that's able to adapt and recover effectively to life is more resilience. It's the essence of resilience. My body's ability to adapt. See, life's going to hit us each and every day. The secret's not avoiding bad things, as we know, it's being resilient in the face of those. It's the same
Yes.
thing that many people think germs make us sick. But if that was ultimately the case, we'd all be dead. The truth of the matter is germs make a weak host sick, a body that's no longer resilient to it. So if the flu comes into our household, not everyone in our household gets the flu. Who gets the flu? Those are no longer resilient to it. And yes, one of the biggest misconceptions out there when it comes to health is if you just eat organic and exercise, you're going to be healthy, you're going to be great. And we're big advocates of those things. But
Yeah.
we know those individuals that do all those things and still have cancer. So it's all about how are you managing the stressors on your life, making sure you're keeping perspective, making sure you keep moving. And we're a big advocate, like I said, and I'll say it over and over again, about adaptogens. Adaptogenic herbs are one of the easiest ways to reinforce homeostasis along the chemical stress pathway. It's interesting, Dr. Edie, because I do a lot of research on the physiology of stress. I teach all over the world on the physiology of stress. And if you look at just studies in the National Institutes of Health, the top 100 diseases on the planet that people deal with on a regular basis has one commonality: HPA axis dysfunction. And what does that mean? It means the chemical stress pathway has got overwhelmed and overloaded. The one
Yep.
thing that actually addresses that specifically are adaptogenic herbs, things like ashwagandha, holy basil, cordyceps. That's why even in our product line, it's all about helping restore the body to homeostasis so we can become resilient. Here's the thing: I want to go face life today. I don't want to avoid life. I don't want to avoid germs and all those things. I want to go face life and know that my
Yes.
body's going to adapt to it and then recover. And if we just get the body restoring itself back to homeostasis, I promise you, your body's going to be in such a better position to not only survive, but truly thrive. So yes, we're, I think, both big advocates of that. Now, you're a big advocate as well of essential oils. We
Yes.
talked about essential oils for a long time. Explain that a little bit to me for those that aren't familiar with essential oils, just the power. I know my wife and I, that's what we use throughout our home. Just so good. Tell me a little bit from your perspective about essential oils.
Yeah, well, I love what you say about adaptogens and what I started learning when I found essential oils as part of my journey to try to
Yeah.
heal myself. And they're very powerful adaptogens. So
Yeah.
they have the ability, if you get ones that are really good, as close to God as to God put them in the plant, they're carefully distilled. If you get really good ones, what you'll find is that they do what the body needs. They have this sort of intelligence of their
Yeah.
creator and are able to go in and sort of give the body what it needs. They're not hormones, but they can act like hormones. They're not neurotransmitters, but they can open cells like neurotransmitters. They're not themselves like
Yeah.
immune binding cells, but they can open immune, bind to immune receptors. So they have that adaptogenic quality that you're mentioning with herbs. Really good quality essential oils work that like that too. And so I started using those. I started using essential oil infused supplements. And when
Mhm.
I was practicing medicine, I would always tell my patients, don't bother with supplements. They don't work. It's just expensive urine. And
Yeah.
I firmly believed that until I
Mhm.
found really quality supplements that when you use them in a targeted way and when they're adaptogenic or when they're infused with essential oils, so powerful. So now I can, manage the things in my life that I tend to struggle with, which always tends to be my adrenals, my thyroid. I can almost always bring those back into harmony with adaptogenic herbs and supplements and essential oils. And that to me, I mean, when I first started learning that, I was very skeptical. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It doesn't even make sense that you could rub something over your thyroid and
Mhm.
that it would have some benefit. But I did believe you could take a pill
Yeah.
that a pharmaceutical company made and that it would, do its job. And so it just took a little bit of humbling for me to just try these things. And my husband is a physician too. And over the years, we've been on this natural path for about 10 years. I can't even tell you the stories of things that we have seen in our
Mhm.
own health, in our own lives that have been that you just wouldn't believe. It feels like when people talk about it, you're like, that can't even be true. But things like, I was able to heal my own Hashimoto's. Like I
Mhm.
don't even show signs of ever having had it. using herbs, repairing my gut health, like really paying attention to with targeted supplements and eating fermented foods. Like it's been a journey, but he's had, the same just crazy results sometimes. And I feel like one of the things that whole thing has really helped us with is inflammation.
Yeah.
We were both so inflamed. If you look at pictures of me back in 2013, when I was diagnosed with all those things, I looked 10 years older than I look now. My face
Mm.
was so inflamed. You could see the misery on my face, and how this journey has just given me my life back, my energy back, my fire back,
Mm.
to help people find natural solutions, to help people really find answers, for themselves, so that they can get back to being the version of themselves that God created, the version of themselves that can stop. I feel like, when do you feel like you're there? Well, when you can stop worrying about yourself and
Yeah.
go serve your neighbor. And I
Yeah.
didn't feel good enough back then to do that. I was always worried about myself and thinking about how low my energy was, and all this. And now I feel like it's given me this freedom to now really focus on the people that I can serve.
It's so true. But I think people have a wrong perspective as well. When an individual goes into a medical office, that medical doctor is held to the standard of care. And so I think people don't realize I have so many medical doctors that come into my office and they just say, Dr. P, our hands are tied. Like the patient's looking at the commercial and saying, I want the purple pill, not realizing the purple pill has this and this and this side effect that leads to this, this, and this. But if I don't give
Yeah.
them the purple pill, then they're going to go somewhere else. And I actually really care about that patient. So they're in this catch-22. And I bet I have dozens and dozens of doctors that just says, you know what, when it comes to someone that comes in and gets tested and they have low thyroid levels, there's a standard of care
Yeah.
that they have to follow. And I don't
Yeah.
think patients in really the general public knows that
Right.
they're held to a standard that if they don't do it, they get in trouble. And so it's imperative that we take the bull by the horn, so to speak, when it comes to our health. My job as a doctor is to be an advocate for you, to help empower you with information so that you can make an educated decision for you and your family and loved ones. But I think what
Yeah.
happens is we put all the trust in a doctor that's held to a
Yeah.
standard of care, and then we kind of put it on them like there's no responsibility on us as well. It's
Right.
imperative that when it comes to the gift of health that we've been given, if we don't steward it well, we will lose it. If
Yeah.
we don't steward it, it means we're not honoring the gift that God's given us. And if I don't honor something, I lose the opportunity to partake in the benefits of it. And so it's imperative. And for those of you that are watching, hey, your health is a gift. Our encouragement is there's a healthier way to go about, and there's a healthy approach to go about it. Keeping perspective, you know, taking care of the temple of God, eating clean, whole foods, get moving, get proper rest, get proper sleep, make sure you're hydrating yourself. One of the greatest ways to detoxify the body, especially in a generation right now where all we hear about is Ozempic and all these new shots and everything that are not even weight loss mechanisms. They're blood sugar mechanisms that are being used, and there's so many side effects from Ozempic and all these other medications coming out there. My encouragement is take a more natural approach, a proactive approach, and watch the benefits that you get. I think that's one of the greatest joys that I get is the people that come in with no hope, and within a few days they're going, I can't believe it, Dr. Pete. Is this simple? Yes, it's that simple. In most cases, if we just get the body moving in the right direction, we can see huge, huge changes. What are some of the other things, Doc, that you would say if you were going to encourage someone who's frustrated with their health journey, who doesn't know where to turn, some simple things that they can get moving in the right direction?
Yeah, I think you're so right. Sometimes I feel like what I am mostly is a hope and dream
Yeah.
peddler, because I think sometimes if you just believe you can find the answers for yourself, if you can just hear the hope and the encouragement of someone else, you can go, oh gosh, maybe it
Yeah.
is possible for me. And what I find with so many of my clients and the people who come to me is that they have this sort of critical voice in their head, and for so long they haven't heard any words of hope when it comes to health. And the funny thing is, when I was practicing medicine, the one thing I never talked about, and I was writing a blog at the time and I was about to write a book, I never talked about health because I didn't have anything hopeful to say. And so when I found this whole world of like natural holistic health, where you're taking responsibility for yourself in the best way, where yes, your body was created by God to function well, your body is created to heal when you give it what it needs. And when I started hearing messages like that, it just lit me on fire. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been missing out. I mean, I've been a medical doctor now for 20 years, and I've been missing out on the best part of this whole health thing, and how God has created our bodies so beautifully to do, what they're supposed to do when we just sort of get in line with how they're made. And so I agree with you that I think the most important thing is hope, and to
Yeah.
believe that it's possible, to believe that your body was created by a creator who loves you so much. You're his beloved. He wants you to feel well and have the energy to carry out your giftings in the world. And I think that message and that hope, if you can just hear that and believe that, answers will start to open up to you. You'll start to meet people like Dr.
Yeah.
Pete or me or whatever. You'll start to discover people who really do believe that. And I think sometimes just that switch in mindset is powerful enough for people to start really finding solutions that work.
I think the greatest compliment I've ever received is, Dr. Pete, you gave me hope. When I had no hope, you gave me hope. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. A desire fulfilled is a tree of life. And to be a hope dealer, where we're just encouraging people that your tomorrow can be better than today. In fact, it's proven that you can be more resilient tomorrow than you are today. And it's not even about removing a symptom. Health isn't about just feeling good. Health is about resilience. We want to encourage you with that. And no matter who you are, you can become more resilient tomorrow than you are today by simple tweaks to your perspective, to your life. I thank you so much for watching this conversation with my good friend, Dr. Edie. Dr. Edie, how do we find out more information about you for those that are watching that would like to just kind of reach out to you and see if they can get on that journey to a happy and healthy life?
Yeah, I'm all over social media, at Edie Wadsworth on Instagram, Edie Wadsworth Coaching on Facebook, and we create our spaces there so that people know that they're loved, know that there's hope. And so yeah, come follow along, and we'll constantly give you those messages.
Dr. Edie, it's been such an honor to have you with us today. And for those of you watching, thank you so much for joining Conversations with my good friend, Dr. Edie. We'll see you next time.